Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Nancy Ryans. I'm an artist living in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been a professional artist now for quite a long time. I'm not going to tell you how many years. Just say I've been in the business for a couple of decades at least. Today we are going to talk about how to get out of an artist's slump. Now, this is like a writer's block where all of a sudden you just don't you don't feel like painting, you don't feel like creating your art, or you might not feel like you have any ideas coming to you. So today we are going to talk about ways that you can maybe get yourself out of this slump. Now, this is a big topic, and we're going to discuss just a small bit of it, just some of my favorite tips and tricks for getting yourself out of this artist slump. My aim for this is to be a fairly short video. Now, a longer version of this video is going to be available to paid subscribers on my Patreon site. So check out the link below for the information on that. But today we're going to talk about some of the causes and even some of the ways that you can work yourself out of an artist slump. Now, this isn't just me talking. I have asked a ton of my artist friends about how they work themselves out of a slump. But before we talk about that, let's try to think about what might be the cause. That's one of the first things that I like to do when I'm confronted with a time where I just really don't feel like going into the studio. For a lot of us, if we've got other things going on in our life, like big emotional crises, maybe we just had someone in our family pass away, or we lost a day job, or something big happened like a divorce or a breakup. Other stuff going on in your life is an emotional hit, and sometimes those big emotional hits can cause us really to not want to create our art for a while. For me, that's painting, so I'll use that as my example. After my divorce about 15 years ago, I took about 6 months off of painting completely. I honestly thought that was going to be it, that I would never paint again, but I finally got back to it. But I just needed that break, that time away to kind of process and work on everything that just happened with this big emotional turmoil that I had gone through in my life. So if you have an emotional turmoil, it can definitely affect your desire to get into your studio or to create your art. Sometimes we get into a slump where it just seems like we don't have any ideas coming to us. And that can be from a variety of reasons. Maybe we've been working on a series of paintings or drawings for a long time, and we think we may have kind of worn that subject matter out. So that can happen when no ideas are coming to you. It's usually a result of almost working too much up until that point. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Also, if you're physically or even mentally worn out, maybe not from your art, but from other stuff going on in your life. Maybe your day job is really a difficult one, or something's going on with your kids or your mom or dad or something like that. That can wear you out emotionally or even physically. And then maybe you've been working at your art a bit too much. Maybe you haven't taken enough breaks away from it. So everybody needs different amounts of time away from their art form. And that's going to vary depending on you, but it's going to have to be something that you figure out on your own, how much playtime you need, how much you time you need. So we'll talk about that. Sometimes if we have financial worries, that can cause a lot of stress in our lives and cause us not to want to go paint. So that's totally understandable. When you're financially stressed, maybe you've lost a job, maybe your art isn't selling as well as you'd like it to, maybe it's not enough to pay the bills. That can cause a lot of financial stress, and that financial stress can kind of deplete your creativity and your desire to go paint. So that's totally understandable. If you're depressed for any reason at all, again, that just like with everything else we've talked about, depression can really impact your desire to be creative. Now, for some people, depression allows them to be more creative, but if you are feeling like you're depressed, I really would urge you to go in and seek counseling. This YouTube video is not really here for a counseling session. Now, let's go back to how to get yourself out of these slumps. We've talked about some of the causes, but what are some of the ways that you can help yourself get out of these slumps? So if you've got a lot of stuff going on in your life, I'm going to really strongly encourage you to take control of that first. To attend to your family first and yourself first. If you've got a health issue, or if someone in your family has a health issue, if something else is going on in your family, attend to that first. Art is not the most important thing in the world. You and your family are. So take care of those first. So again, those relationships are going to be super helpful to you as you move on in your art career. Art should come after you and your family and any other people in your life. Art should come after that. It's not the most important thing. Some of you may disagree with that, and that's okay. But for most of us, a healthy life includes a healthy body and a healthy family relationship. So please take care of that first. And that might mean you need to go to family counseling. It might mean that you need to seek medical attention for issues or get additional attention. But be easy on yourself. If you're going through challenging situations with your family, it's okay to back off with your art. Okay, it's totally okay. Now, some people might find that spending a little bit of time on their art during that stressful family situation may help them cope, but I don't want your art to come in front of you taking care of yourself and your family. So just remember that. Totally okay to take care of you and your family first. So the next thing I would like you to take care of is your finances and your daily living situation. So we all have bills that we have to pay. For some of us, our art might not be there, and it may not be paying the bills like we would like it to. So it might mean that you have to get a day job in order to pay the mortgage or the rent. We don't want you to starve. I don't want you to be out on the streets. I want you to take care of your finances first before, again, so take care of your family, then take care of your finances in your home and living situation. I want you to do that so that it lowers your stress levels of daily living so that you can devote more time and attention to your art. But doing your day job is totally cool. A lot of artists have started that way. And a lot of artists are only part-time and they do amazing work. You don't have to be a completely full-time artist. You can still have other work that you do, especially if you're the breadwinner of the family. You might not like that day job, and a lot of us have not. I've had day jobs in the past that I've hated. Back when I was first starting out trying to be a professional artist, yeah, I had day jobs that I didn't like very much, but they paid the mortgage and it helped me to keep a lower level of stress so that when I did go into the studio, I was super productive. So if you hate the one you have, either make peace with it or find a different one. So you've got some choices there. All right, so if there are big stressors in your life, anything else that's a stressor, maybe a challenging relationship with your spouse or health issues or something, please take care of those too. Like I said, with the family and your own health, you need to take care of these first before you can be totally creative and devoted to your art. It's really, really tough to create art or even make improvements in your art when you're worried about very basic things like your finances, your family, your relationships. Now, again, like I said before, some people are able to channel those stressors into artistic energy. You might be one of those. So go ahead and give that a try. But if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. You're going to have to figure out what's right for you. Once I finally started painting after my divorce, again, it was about 6 months. The pieces that I painted, didn't want to show anybody. Not because they were bad, but because they were pieces that were helping me work out what had gone on in the relationship. And they were images that might not be so saleable for other people to buy. So they were for me. I did them for me. I kept them for a while. And then when I was done with them, I actually destroyed them. I just didn't want them hanging around because they were very reflective of a specific time in my life and they were just meant for me. So you can go ahead and try that, but don't worry too much if that really doesn't work for you. You may have to take a complete break away from your art for a while. Now, once you handle all of those like basic situations and your life is moderately comfortable, evaluate whether you're actually still in a slump. Maybe that's where your slump was coming from, was one of those stressors. However, if you're still in a slump, let's talk about some ways to get out of it. Now, for a lot of us, we work really, really hard for a specific amount of time, and then we feel like we're depleted. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've been working at your art and your day job, if you've got one, a little bit too much and not indulging in you time or family time or play time. So this is called burnout. It happens not only in the arts, it happens with medical professionals, lawyers, uh, psychologists. A lot of different people have periods of burnout. And I want you to try to avoid that if you can, but you may be already in it. So this is burnout. Take a break. I give you permission to take a break. If you've got vacation time from work, take it and don't paint or don't draw or whatever your art is. Stay away from your art, stay away from your job. Have fun. Go out and play. Maybe go to the beach or go hiking with your friends and family or go on a picnic or something like that. Get away from the art for a little bit. Now, when I do this, I set myself up for a specific number of days away. If I find that if I go for more than 3 days away from some kind of art activity, I feel rusty when I come back. However, I do sometimes take slightly longer breaks. Like if I go on a trip, let's say to the Tetons or Yellowstone, I'll often be away from the easel for a couple of weeks. But I'm doing photography and field sketching during that time. So I'm not completely away. But I find though that after that 2 week break, it's a little bit harder for me to get back into my art than if I just took a day or two off. So I'm going to urge you to take some time off intermittently. Don't work so hard if you are working really hard. Get away from the art a bit. You don't have to do a big vacation. You can take just a couple days off and maybe go to some museums or something in your town or go on a picnic. But even a few days of rest and relaxation, doing things that you absolutely enjoy with the people that you love is really beneficial. So I know when it's time for me to get out of the studio, when I start feeling really edgy and confined and caged in. And that happened to me just the other day. I had been preparing for a show for the last 3 months and working really hard and not taking many breaks. So this weekend, I took 2 days off and went out and did some wildlife photography and sketching. And it was exactly what I needed to get away just from the studio for a while and get outside and be around other people. So I don't feel guilty about taking time away anymore because it really helps me recharge. You can try energizing your love for art by visiting a museum or art galleries or art shows or something like that. Even art festivals or concerts are good ways of taking mini breaks, like a half a day. Take those half a day breaks to do fun things. Get out to an art museum or even a natural history museum, something like that. So go and enjoy something really artistic. Just get away. If you go to a museum, just avoid comparing yourself and your work to the people's work that you see there. But it's okay to learn from them. Go in there, look for things that you can learn about your own art, but just don't spend the time comparing yourself and beating yourself up. immerse yourself in the art and the creativity of others. It's an awesome way to, on those mini breaks, take a mini break and kind of get yourself out of a slump. Now, if you've got a bigger slump and you don't really know where it's coming from, this is one I recommend to a lot of my students. Take a class or a workshop in a slightly different medium or a completely different medium or subject matter or style than your usual. So if you're an oil painter, maybe take a class in watercolors or pastels. If you typically do figurative paintings, maybe take a landscape painting class instead. But take those classes with instructors whose work that you really admire. Don't just take a class to take a class. Look and research somebody whose art that you actually admire and connect with that new instructor as much as possible while you're in the class and the other students, because those connections can end up being helpful. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But those other students can help you revitalize your art. There's this really beautiful symphony of people in an art class, and we always help each other learn and grow in different ways. So again, just connect with other people when you're in those classes. So kind of on a different note, this is just a little bit of a warning that I see with a lot of my students, and I have to fight it a lot as well. Avoid spending too much time on social media, and especially surfing social media and comparing yourself to others. So just social media is a tool. It's a tool for you to get your work out there. It's a tool for you to see other people's work, but it should not be more than, let's say, a half an hour a day. I try to keep it to less than 10 minutes a day, by the way, but just back off of it as much as you can and work on your own art. All right, here's another way that I use to break out of a slump. I like to experiment with something completely different for a few weeks. For example, if let's say you're a representational landscape painter, experiment with abstracted landscapes or even completely abstract work, or maybe experiment with still life painting. Just mix it up. I want you to mix it up and experiment and try new things. If you're, let's say you're an oil painter, try experimenting with pastels instead, and don't have any ideas in your head that these need to be saleable or even good. Just play with that. Again, I want you to get into a habit of taking regular time for artistic play. Stretch your artistic muscles a bit, experiment and play, even if you don't think this is going to go anywhere. Just play with it for a few weeks. Now, another thing that I like to use to break out of my own slumps is to get back to basics. If I'm having trouble with painting, I'll spend time each week drawing instead of painting. So I'll do charcoal drawings or graphite, and it can be just common stuff in your home. It could be landscapes outside, but again, mix it up, play and have fun. If you're a wildlife or landscape artist, take that time to get back out into the field and with plein air drawing or painting or even nature journaling. So I'll leave that to you to look up. Nature journaling is a cool way to get outside and just play and have fun with materials like watercolors and pens and sketchbooks outside. But again, there's this theme here. I want you to take some regular time for play and fun. One last idea that I love to share with people is to spend some time during that slump. If you need to take some time away from your art, become really interested in exploring the work of one or two historical artists. Just dive in, like it could be Gustav Klimt or Alphonse Mucha. Find one of those that you really enjoy and just dive in and look at as many of their pieces as you can, preferably in a museum if you've got one available or on the internet. But dive into their artwork and try to recreate maybe some passages of their work so you can learn from it. Don't try to sell those as your work, okay? That's not what this is about. This is about learning from them, but again, experimenting and playing. One last thing is I'd love for you to consider is to either join or start up an art mastermind group locally for you if you can, or create one on an online platform for that's a little bit bigger in scope. Keep it to between 5 and 8 people, and just Google what a mastermind group is. But these are groups, and I belong to one art mastermind group. We get together every week and we discuss things like marketing strategies, what shows that we're in coming up, what shows are coming up that are open for submissions. We love to encourage each other to go out and explore new ways of making and selling art. Well, oftentimes we'll take a group field trip and go to one of our group members' opening nights. We'll go to art opening events together, even if it's not somebody in the group that's involved. But we love to just get together and talk art. And that can be anything from how do you set up your studio to what challenges are you facing right now in the art world, to how do you deal with a difficult relationship with a gallery owner, or how do you get into XYZ art show. So I really encourage you to look for and join those art mastermind groups. Again, keep them small though, because if they get too big, then it becomes cumbersome and it's not really an art mastermind. It needs to be between 5 and 8 people to be the most effective. All right, thank you for joining me today. That's it for the free portion of this content. Again, if you want the additional content, go ahead and subscribe to my Patreon site, and the link for that is below. Thank you so much, and I hope that was helpful in getting you out of your slump.